My name is Gallant. I'm an Associate Dean and Director of the Center for Global Education, for those who don't know me. With us are 6 panelists, faith students who are studying abroad this semester. They're going to share with us their experience, answer some questions, and also answer your questions if you have them. If you have questions, you can either wait to the end and raise your hands and ask them live, or you can send them to me in the chat, which should be a function at the bottom of your screen. I forget if I said this already, but this is being recorded. So, keep it nice. We'll be sending it out to other students who were eager for the panel, but aren't able to make it today. With that, let's get started. And I'm going to have our crew in Iceland start us off by introducing themselves, sharing their majors, and obviously I just said you're in Iceland, so.
Hi, I'm Daly. I'm a geology major.
I'm Koharu. I'm an environmental studies major.
I'm Owen. I'm a chemistry major.
That was perfect.
What was the second question? Sorry, we're having unstable internet connection.
That's all right. I had asked, I think I said something about you being in Iceland, and that was all we needed.
Yes.
How about Mark?
Hi, I'm Mark. I'm at Oxford, England, and I study English.
Gabby?
Hi, I'm Gabby. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I study politics, and right now I'm studying in Edinburgh.
And Jackson?
Hi, I'm Jackson, also studying in Edinburgh. I'm studying English literature, and he, his, him are my pronouns.
Great, thank you. As you will see throughout the panel, some of our internet capabilities around the world are different. So we'll go in and out. That was great, Jackson. But he already warned me, and I could see Iceland was having some issues as well. So one of the first questions, whoever wants to start can start us off, is, how and why did you choose the program you're studying at? And did COVID-19 impact that choice?
This was my first choice. I didn't really think about COVID when I was applying here, and I just kind of got lucky that my program didn't get canceled, but this program focused on like climate change and environmental studies. So it's kind of why I picked the program.
Same for me, actually. This is my first choice. I was very interested in coming to Iceland and learning about climate change and how they're sort of facing that issue here. And it's been really great.
Yeah, I also had a similar experience where COVID didn't really factor in at the point. Like COVID wasn't really a big deal when I was first applying. So I didn't really think about it then, but pretty early on, the University of Edinburgh made it clear that they were gonna try to host students, and Scotland was doing very well at the time in COVID. So it didn't really affect me that much, but I did have the extra security that I saw that they were very eager to get students here. So it helped. It helped that this was my first choice. Yeah.
Sounds like some similar answers. I'd also be curious, so why did you choose the program regardless of COVID-19 or the university?
I chose this program because I just heard they had an amazing politics program, and I did reconsider once COVID really came underway. I wanted to be like a responsible global citizen, and I didn't want to be going to an area that I thought I would be any less safe in or making anybody else less safe. But like Jackson said, the university was very upfront even before I think I was officially accepted. We were getting notifications about what the school was planning to do for visiting students, and what we could they gave a good timeline of when we could expect to have answers, and just the way that the school was so on top of managing the program despite COVID, I think made me even more sure that I wanted to come here.
Any different responses?
COVID didn't really affect my decision. I'm really interested in English writers like John Hamilton, Chaucer. So coming to England to study was a pretty obvious choice for me.
I know I spoke to many of you leading up to your time going abroad about whether to go or not, or if you'd be able to go or not. Would anyone like to talk about that time and what the decision-making process during that time was like?
The visa process was not easy with COVID. It was horrible.
It was really.
Yeah.
I don't know how long. Yeah, Gabby and I, we did exchange a few texts. I believe it was the CAS number is what it was called. It was something the university was supposed to send us, and we both submitted our to us, and you needed that to go get the actual visa. Oh, it says my internet's unstable. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
I'm back. I cut out. How long did I cut out? Was I?
Not very long.
Okay, good. Yeah, so the whole getting the visa was a really big process with them. The University of Edinburgh loaded send us stuff, but they did eventually.
If I remember correctly, it was just days before you were supposed to leave.
It was days before, yes. Yeah. I scheduled the flight, I believe, a few days before. Yeah, I actually had the flight, so it was a lot.
Did anyone consider not going?
I considered not going because I was in this very like limbo state of wondering like, is my program going to run or not? And then like, is it worth going? Like, what are the restrictions that I would be facing, or like, would my program like change in a drastic way that I wouldn't be able to do things what I wanted to? And then hearing a lot of my friends back at Bates that their programs either got discontinued or they're just straight up like weren't going. So I was like thinking about it, and then thinking about not going. But then I was like screw it. I just really want to go abroad and like see Iceland and do like geology in an area that I like really wanted to like learn more about. So I just like sent it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I think the hardest like period for me was the time between, because schools in Europe tend to start a little bit later than the US. So the time between when Bates students were back, but I still didn't know if I was going to be able to go abroad. It was really rough because I would like talk to people at Bates and they were like back and things were like kind of getting like back into like a little bit of normal for them. And I still didn't even know if I was going to like make it across the ocean. So I think that was like the time when I almost considered maybe just stopping and studying online at Bates. But yeah.
Was there anyone from your family or any of your guardians that had an opinion in this process? Did you find them supportive or not?
I was thinking about not going for a little bit, but my parents were pretty excited for me to go abroad. I think it was a big thing for them that I go abroad. So they're kind of pushing me to just like send it, like Davey said, and really glad I did. It's definitely worth it.
Also, I think Iceland was doing pretty good, like a good job handling the cases. So it felt like it's a lot safer to be in Iceland than in the US or anything. So that kind of helped make my decision as well.
Anyone else? Any family input? If you haven't
My
noticed, there's
family
a
was
dog on my lap. Sorry, Jackson, go on.
No, I mean, that's about it. My family was very helpful. My mom continued to push me that going abroad would be good. And even with the restrictions, Scotland was doing better. So my family was very helpful and kind of encouraged me that that was the right choice, especially when I was kind of thinking like for a moment, I might just stay home and study online, that it would be better. Because at that point, it eventually got to like it would be either me staying home studying online or going abroad with restrictions. And they helped me like kind of realize that here with restrictions is better than home with just studying online. So yeah, family was helpful.
For me, it was kind of crazy how the program is not canceled, because England has the highest mortality rate when it comes to COVID in the world. Our mortality rate is 18%. So, and right now, I mean, we've reached, I think, tier 3. In tier 3 in London, tier 2 in Oxford, but people are still not wearing masks, and these English people are crazy. So, so I mean, but still, one made the decision. I mean, obviously we see the COVID curve going up, but still, my parents. I mean, first the tuition's cheaper, much cheaper than Bates. Number one, number two, I just want to get another view in my study. So it was a pretty easy choice for me.
Mark makes a good segue. What's it like where you are? And maybe we'll go around for this one. Mark, do you have anything to add for so what's COVID like in Oxford?
The thing is, I don't know what Oxford is like before COVID. I mean, for our classes, right? We only have 2 classes a week, and each class is an hour long. So for a whole week, we only have 2 hours of class, and that class is taught in tutorial style. So it's one-on-one with the professor. So I take 2 classes. I take Chaucer with a 40-year-old professor, and then creative writing with a 70-year-old professor. So I mean, with my Chaucer professor, we do it in person, but we often wear masks and sit very far, so it's a little awkward. But for my creative writing, because the professor is very old, he doesn't want to travel, so we do online. But despite the 2 hours per week, we do read a lot, and that minimizes the social time that I have. And the work has been driving me crazy, to be honest, with the, I mean, because I mean, the vibe here is very different. I mean, I love it because I'm studying a subject that I love, but I think if you don't like, or you don't have like a super burning passion for your academic subject, coming here would suck, because you'd be just in your room studying. So for average Oxford student study 60 hours a week. And I go about 45 hours, 30 to 45 hours a week. So it's just really stay in your room and study. And there's no gym here. There's no gym. There's no music building. Crazy. There's no music building. There's no gym. In the whole school, it's super small. It's really small. It's about a fifth of Bates. So it's a building in a circle, and then in the middle it's a dining hall, and then right next to the dining hall there's a super small library where you have to book your spot before you go in. Only holds 30 people. So I mean, so people just stay in their room every single day to study. For example, the only time I meet people is when I grab food. when I grab the food and come back to eat in my room. And also I also meet people on Sunday when we have when we order takeouts. But other than that, there's no game night. I used to play card games with friends. Used to watch movies, but there's nothing like that here. And I don't think that's a COVID thing. That's It's an Oxford thing. So that's my experience.
Jackson and Gabby, what about for you in Scotland, Edinburgh? How are things going there?
Wait one sec. Can you hear me again? Sorry. I'm cutting out.
We can hear you. Well, now we can.
Yeah.
Maybe you should go, Gabby.
Okay. I think that upon, like, in the lead up to coming here, my attitude was kind of anywhere is better than the US right now. Like anywhere anywhere I go, COVID is not going to be as bad. Governments are going to be handling it better, and I'm going to be safer. And I came here and I realized that's not the case. I think anybody who's planning to go abroad just has to remember, like, this is a global pandemic. I think I kind of, I was in my American bubble, just talking to all of my American friends and how awful the country was handling it, and how lucky I was that I was going to be somewhere else that was handling it better. And I come here and in a lot of ways it is being handled better, but in other ways, I think it's very interesting to see the different attitudes that people have. I come here and I'm totally content, staying in my room and studying. I agree with Mark. I think if you go anywhere right now, you have to have a passion for what you're studying, because things are going to be closed. I mean, this isn't like a normal study abroad experience. I spend a lot of time in my room. I really only hang out with my flatmates. And I've met Jackson for coffee twice, and that's like the extent of my meeting other people right now. And for me, that's normal, because that's the responsibility that we have back home, with COVID. But then here, the government is taking restrictions, and you see all of this pushback from students and the communities saying, it's not fair. These restrictions are too much. And to me, to a lot of Americans, I think it's like, what do you mean too much? Like, this is what we've been wanting, is more government measures for our safety. So I think it's very, for a little bit, it was uncomfortable, honestly, seeing students that I thought weren't taking COVID seriously enough. And I think to a degree that's true. I mean, you go to a university or a college that it's not Bates, not everyone's going to have the same attitude that you're used to. But I think the university itself has been handling the crisis very well. But just before going anywhere, I would recommend that somebody who wants to go abroad just consider, if you're going to a city, you're going to have a much higher chance of exposure than Bates. You're going to be around a lot more people who might have different attitudes towards the virus and who might not be as responsible, that sort of thing. So I think that was like the biggest change, unexpected change for me when I got here.
Jackson, I don't know if you're still with us, but anything to add?
I am. Yes. It's mostly the same for me. I have been because like pubs are closed, restaurants are closed. So I didn't hear a lot of what Gabby said, so I'm probably just reiterating a bit. But yeah, the only real interactions I have are with my flatmates, and then I will occasionally I speak to other exchange students, and I can like do stuff outside, usually in smaller groups. Like I've gone hiking a few times, but for the most part, it's I think it's very different than what it would be otherwise without COVID. Do you catch most of that?
Yes, yeah, got all that.
Okay, great.
And then our group in Iceland, I imagine things started off pretty differently than this UK experiences. Be curious to hear how things are going in Iceland, and then maybe also talk a little bit about how your program works, because it's fairly different than these universities.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we were fortunate enough that Iceland handled the situation very well. They closed their borders and had enough tests for pretty much everyone coming into the country. So when we got into the country, we quarantined for 5 days. We took a test right at the airport. and then we took a test like at the end of the 5 days. And if they're both negative, then we're free to go. And everyone was negative. And from there, in the beginning, we pretty much, I mean, you didn't have to wear a mask anywhere. The restaurants were open until 11, I think. And we were fortunate enough that there were no tourists here. I think we entered on a student visa, which was only 90 days. So we entered a little bit differently than usual. So there are pretty much no tourists here. So we were able to tour the Ring Road, which is like one of the most touristy spots probably in the world, with pretty much no one else here, which was, I mean, it was quite the experience. And then as things have kind of worsened everywhere else in the world, they've worsened here.
Yeah, we, I think like 2 months ago now, we started having to like a mask mandate and stuff just started. And then smaller gatherings and stuff. But like, for the most part, like life was kind of normal still. And now we're living like in the south of Iceland on this this glacier farm. So it's like most of the kids from the program are like in this like one big house. So we're all together, segregated from like the rest of like the people in Iceland. So even though we've gone under much stricter restrictions and stuff, like we've been able to do like our normal thing as for like the past like month now. Yeah.
And also because our program itself, it's not like we're attending class at like a university or anything. We're just like this 12 people group that we're like traveling together constantly. We're just the 12 of us all the time. So like we're not really interacting with other people. So in terms of COVID, we're pretty safe on that. And then yeah. And we were supposed to go to Finland for 2 weeks or something, but like to prevent like extra traveling, that got canceled. So we just stayed in Iceland for just under 3 months. So we don't even have to get like student visa or anything. We came in with a travel visa, and yeah, so we're kind of like tourists here a little bit, just on our own though.
Yeah, and more on the program, it's been very different, as Darren was saying, than a lot of other programs, because we don't actually go to a university here. We have an academic advisor who kind of brings in outside lecturers. So usually the way they do it is they travel to different like major-ish towns or cities across Iceland, and they have people there that come and speak, but a lot of them are online for us, which was still fine. We still got to go to like the places that their information would be relevant, but you just like Zoom, had the lectures over Zoom. But yeah.
And now we're doing our like independent studies. So it's like 5 weeks of independent research, and they allowed us to go like anywhere in the country and stuff. So a lot of us are doing climate change and like glacial work. So we decided, and the majority of us decided to all like do our research together and come to like this one location, so we would be able to see each other and minimize our like risk and stuff. So yeah.
You've all touched on this a little bit, but one of the questions that we got was about how your programs or schools are practicing COVID-19 safety. I'm curious if you could all talk a little bit more about like what do you hear from the institution you're at or the program, and how do they prepare you, or try to prepare you, I guess is a better way to put it, or how didn't they, I guess. And then as you go on, to compare from Bates, a lot of the protocols at Bates are things that Bates has put in place. They're not coming from the state government. They're not coming from the federal government. Is that similar or different? I know this is too long of a question, but hopefully you got the picture of what I'm trying to get at.
All right. I've had a bit of a weird experience with my university and their protocol. I think I got very, very unlucky. So I had to self-isolate for a total of like, I think like over a month and I think I would have had to self-isolate for a month and a half, but which and self-isolation here is essentially you aren't supposed to leave your room. You can't talk with anyone. You can't get food at the dining hall, which I had. You just basically have to stay in your room and they bring you food. So I did my 2 weeks of travel isolation, which Gabby also did. I'm assuming that's like the protocol here. I'm sure Mark did it too. And then a day after that, the university locked me like back in because someone in my flat had it, which I always thought was a little bit ridiculous because they don't test the people. They just take the person with symptoms and they leave them in the flat with you, and you can't like do anything about it. You share a bathroom with them, you share a kitchen with them, and so I had to live there 14 days with that person who had it and try my hardest not to get it. And after that, I was out for a week, and then another person, so I had to get locked down again. Oh, my.
Nope, you're still going. Your picture's just frozen.
Oh, I'm still going? Okay, great. Yeah. At that point, instead of doing the next one down, I moved to another dorm, got a test to make sure that I was still negative, and then moved to another accommodation so that I wouldn't have to do the isolation again because it was just getting to be too much. So I found one of the strangest things that I found is I think there's a lot less testing here than there seems to be at Bates and in general. Like I've heard that you're testing people every like 2 weeks or so. When I wanted to get my test, it was like pretty hard to get it. Like I had to call them, and even though you aren't supposed to get a test without symptoms either. So I had to like tell them that I had a cough, even though I didn't, just so that I could, for the university's sake, tell them that I didn't have COVID so I could get a new accommodation. So I think from what I've heard, things here have been like being handled like pretty differently. I think in some ways that's good, but in some ways I just got very unlucky. So no.
Yeah, I guess I don't know if you all know this, but at Bates on campus, students are tested twice a week, and faculty or staff are tested either once a week or twice a week. But we only got a testing center in Auburn, I think 2 weeks ago. But Bates has been on top of the testing since end of August. Yeah, the end of August.
Yeah, I think, our experience is probably very different. Like I come into contact with people who have had COVID or like already had it or have it like currently on like, I used to be coming into contact with those kind of people on a daily basis. And from what I've heard, Bates has only had like 10 or so cases total, I think. Here it's been like almost half the student body has probably had COVID at this point, I would imagine.
I know that the question was a while ago, but any additional commentary about how your program or institution is communicating COVID safety or policies or procedures?
Well, because my school is in a city, so it's pretty hard to really regulate. I mean, the government says about things. In our school says you have to do things, but I mean, students don't follow the rules, and neither do the professors. You can't really do much. So. The numbers are just going to rise, and for example, the government says that all all non-essential businesses must close, but no business closed. at the barber shop, the smoothie shop, some bakeries, they all call themselves essential. So it's like no COVID here, except some people wear masks. That's that.
Always come back to that, but I did want to ask, sort of, maybe this one will be more, see if everyone has an answer to this, but We have a number of students who are still planning to study abroad in winter 2021. I know a couple of them are on this Zoom with us. Do you have any advice for them or for students looking to study abroad next year? And that would be, fall 2021 or winter 2022.
I would say definitely stay up to date in the weeks before you go to your country on how COVID is going there, and don't just use government resources. Because that's what I was doing, is I was using this like one report published by the government like pretty much every week. And I thought I was totally like up to date. I was like, Scotland's doing so well. And I got here, and even just talking to my flatmates for like 10 minutes, I knew that I hadn't seen the full picture. So just try and familiarize yourself, if you can, with how the public feels about the COVID situation and how the state is handling it, because you might it might be better than you think, but in my case, it was definitely not being handled as well as I thought. And I don't know that I don't think that would have changed my decision to come here, honestly. But I definitely wish I had known it before coming here. So definitely just read up on that.
Yeah, like Gabby said, I guess just kind of be aware of like what's going on in the country that you're choosing to go to. I mean, we've been very fortunate with the COVID situation, but yeah, I mean, it all depends on where you're going to, and just being up to date on how they're handling the COVID situation.
You have to be like incredibly, especially now, and I assume it's going to be the same, not only in winter, but next year, but you have to be incredibly flexible. And things can change like on a dime, essentially. I know they did here. Like, as Gabby was saying, I was reading the same things. I kept seeing how well Scotland was doing. I thought it was going to be so much better. And by the time I got here, it's going to be entirely different. But I mean, things changed. And I've been like, you just have to be very flexible. I'm grateful that I've gotten the opportunities that I have to hang out with people. Like, I have been able to, as I was saying, go hiking with people a few times and go on walks within the city of Edinburgh. I haven't really gotten too many chances to leave. I took a train once, but I mean, if you're flexible and you remember the reasons that you want to study abroad, and then like you can make stuff work with the resources you have. So like, don't give up on it, and just remember to be like incredibly flexible.
I want to add to Jackson's point. I agree. I mean, COVID is important, but I also think it would be a shame if you let COVID stop you from going abroad, because this is, for me, at least for me, a once in a life experience. It has allowed me to do things I thought I'd never be able to do, and I feel like COVID, I mean, is such a, if you look at it, it's a relatively small part, in the part that's easily overcomable in your life. So I feel like don't let it prevent you from choosing a program that you want to go to.
So 3 of you are staying for the full academic year. Last I knew. What is your, and any of you can answer this, what's your outlook for winter 2021? What do you being there, you have a sense of like if things will get worse or better just based off living and being in the environment. But what's your sense of that? And what's your hopes for what the next semester might look like for you?
I'm optimistic. My flatmates and I were watching the news last night and saw that Scotland has purchased, I think in total, maybe like 60 or 70 million of the Pfizer vaccines and all the vaccines that are currently coming out with really good results, and that the soonest that somebody could get inoculated, I think, was the end of this month, by December 1st or something. And, just seeing that really made me feel a lot better, honestly, about the winter semester. I don't think it's going to be normal by any means, but I'm definitely very optimistic that the second semester will be at least somewhat less like I'm in the Twilight Zone, and I can maybe go out and do something that's, feel normal for a week or something like that. I'm thinking maybe by the spring, it'll feel a little bit more normal.
Jackson or Mark, anything to add?
Yeah, things here, and it's very hard to tell because, again, things can change so quickly. And we thought during the summer that things were looking up. But right now, again, maybe I'm just going to jinx it. But yeah, things do seem to be looking up. Scotland's got, I believe, a new system. They brought a bunch of places down to tier 2, not Edinburgh. And they're doing a lot here to make sure like things are kind of contained, which is great. They've made it so you can't travel within Scotland. So I'm assuming and hoping that all these new like restrictions will mean that by the time we get to March and April and May, things will be looking a lot better. So I'm very optimistic right now.
We got a question in to me directly, and it's directed more to Gabby, Jackson, and Mark. And so the question goes, I'm just going to read it. I understand that Iceland is a unique program of a bubble, but it sounds like Gabby, Jackson, and Mark have experience of mostly courses. I wonder if you consider your experience living in Britain more educational compared to taking courses from a British university online, if that was a choice. So you're doing a lot of remote study, but you're doing it in the UK. Do you feel like you're getting more out of that experience by being there, or could you do what your experience is remotely from home?
I think you get, I do think I'm getting more out of it by being here, but I think you get more out of it by being on campus in person, no matter what, even at Bates, like I felt like I was getting more out of Bates when it wasn't online learning. I knew even before I got my visa, like a week before I came here, I knew that if necessary, I was just going to take online classes still through Edinburgh for the full year, even if I had to stay at home that whole time. I don't think it would be a bad decision. I don't think it would really deprive you of a great education if you were to do it online. But I think that being able to talk in person with my flatmates, and I'm older than all of my flatmates, and I don't study the same things as them, but still being able to talk to people in the country that I'm studying, especially with, I'm studying British politics now. So talking to my British flatmates, it's helpful for me personally. And I assume it would be even for somebody who wasn't studying something so specific to the country they're staying in.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I did have 2. I now have 1 in-person class, so there is still the chance that you will do that. But you do remember time. Your okay, and that was one of the big things that discouraged me from wanting it, is you would be waking up very, very early for most classes. And that's a simple thing. It's a thing that you could work around, but it's definitely something to consider. For a course it's not ideal.
Definitely cut out a little bit that time, Jackson, but I think we maybe got an idea of what you're saying. Yeah. Mark, anything to add being at the university?
Yeah, for me coming here was a conscious decision because Bates is a very like a cooperative environment, right? It's very non-competitive, and I kind of want to go to a place where it's more competitive. And Oxford is certainly a place where it's incredibly competitive with its tradition. For example, it's just crazy how so they rank people based on your grades, right? I mean, that aside, at the end of the school year, you also get a piece of cloth, like a jacket, based on how based on where you are at the mark. And I fortunately don't have to go through that because I'm listening student, so I'm not including the list. But so that environment where you're constantly competing in everything you do is like that's different from Bates. And I want to see how that feels like and how I, as a non-competitive person, can fit into an environment like this. So coming here was like a conscious choice for me.
One of the questions that came in was about entering the country. I assume you all had an easy enough time actually getting in the country once you got your visa, because you all entered in August and September before like more travel restrictions came up. But I will say for many of you, the only reason you're able to go to an EU country, if your country was in the EU at that point, was because of a stipulation the EU made where they allowed study abroad students to enter the EU. And these are specifically students coming from the United States. But did anyone have any trouble like at the border arriving?
No.
I see head shaking now. Okay. And then another question that just came in was someone's considering studying in London and was curious if they could just hear a little bit more, if you've heard what life in London might be like. I know none of you are in London, but I got 3 of you in the UK. Or just maybe a small summary of what we talked about before about how how the UK isn't handling things as well as one would hope.
I feel like I could talk on this, but I think Mark might be best because he's the one in England. If it's London.
Yeah, I mean, London, the King's College, UCL, but I mean, they are very different from, I mean, I feel like when it comes to academic subjects, I can't really give like a detailed view because for example, UCL, it's very much lecture-based. But for Oxford, it's small class. So it's a little different, but it rains so much. I mean, like that's actually like a problem. It's not like a quirk; it's a problem. It rains every single day, and when the news forecast says it's sunny, that means it rains a little bit. That's a problem, and it's so hard to go outside without getting wet. Every day the ground is wet, and when you ride a bicycle, the mud just splashes, and you get like mud on your back. I hate it, and so that's my input.
Mark, that was really helpful. Actually, I think the question was more going to be about like in terms of COVID-19. Anything to share on that? But actually, that was really good insight as well.
Rain's pretty bad here too, so don't think you can escape it by coming over here. It rains a lot.
I feel like London isn't gonna. Obviously with the vacuum in the English, the vacuum of leadership in the English Parliament, the COVID isn't going away anytime soon. So, I that's my opinion.
As we get nearing the end of our time, I'm curious if each of you could think of one thing that's been like a highlight and maybe one thing that's been a thorn. So like a rose and a thorn, if you've played that game before. So your favorite, maybe your least favorite of your experience so far. Let's just take COVID off the table, because I'm going to assume that's going to be a thorn. Could be something related to COVID, sure. But if you, interpret as you will, of course. And whenever anyone wants to start, you're up.
I think a highlight for me has been being able to do like field work and such. I'm really interested in glacier science and such, and right now I'm getting certified to become a glacier guide in Iceland, so it's really exciting and really cool. And a thorn would be that I'm only here for 90 days, and I unfortunately don't exactly want to come back to the States. So yeah.
Yeah. I think one of the better things for our program was honestly that there aren't many tourists here. I think that a lot of times Iceland can get pretty crowded with people from like the States and other places. That seems at least to be what the Icelandic people that we've met say. So it's been really nice to pretty much, everywhere we go, it's pretty much just our group. That's been really nice. But the one thing that has been a shame, it is COVID related, but not having a lot of the lectures in person is definitely something that has been a bit of a bummer. But yeah, otherwise everything's been great.
Yeah. I think the rows have been like to be able to like travel all around Iceland, even if it's just the 12 of us all the time and we're just like in these 2 vans constantly traveling, like we get to see all these beautiful places. But I guess one thorn would be that we were supposed to go to Finland instead of doing like a full round trip around Iceland, but the fact that we couldn't go to Finland is a little disappointing, but then we still got to see the rest of Iceland, which we probably wouldn't have been able to. So yeah.
I think for me, a rose would just be living in the city. I've never lived in a city ever. I grew up in a really small town. I've never lived in a metropolitan city. Lewiston is a city, but I've never lived in a metropolitan area. This is very different for me. It's a very historic city. And just anytime I walk anywhere, even if it's to like the grocery store down the street, I'm just like, I look up and I see in the like a Tesco, and then right behind the Tesco is like the top of like a castle. And that's just what it's like here. It's just beautiful. I like even the rain. I like the rain. It's just beautiful. It's amazing. And I'm so happy that I'm here this year. My thorn would be that I cannot go home for Christmas. I'm just to limit travel. It's not something that the school has restricted or anything like that. It's more just, to avoid unnecessary travel and 4 more weeks of isolation. So yeah, I'm not able to spend the holidays with my family. But next semester there's no break or anything like that aside from February or whatever their spring break is. But that would definitely be my thorn.
I would say Rose probably, even and everything being locked down, you kind of do get like you still get to speak to your flatmates, you still get to like hang out with people a little bit, like it's and especially talking with like other exchange students who are eager to like, when we get a chance, like go places. And I have gone to go to Glasgow once, and I did once go to St. Andrews. It's kind of a good like we're all like in this like together. Everyone's like struggling in the same ways. We're all just trying to make the most of it as best we can, and that feels good. It feels a lot better than being stuck at home in my house for 6 months or longer. So I guess that's a Rose. Did you kind of like you get like closer to people through that? So that's been great. And Thorn, I feel like I have to agree, even though this has already been said, with the non-in-person classes is really like I never thought I would into a lecture hall or just being able to speak with a professor face to face as much as I did. I think that's really been probably the worst part of it.
Well, for me, the food here is so good, unbelievable. Wow. Even for takeaway food, it's still very, very good. I mean, I heard different colleges have their own different. Oxford is dividing different colleges, and different colleges have different like wonderful food. Some schools have good breakfast, some have good dinner. So that's the food part is fantastic. Also, I mean, but on a more serious note, I do like the academic here. I think the academic environment here, the courses I'm taking, they like I can perhaps for the first time in my life I can literally see my improvement. One essay after the other. I can see that I'm doing better, and I think that's just like an opportunity you don't often get unless someone really push you hard. And I mean, I also love what I do. I also love what I study. So come here was a blessing for me for sure. And a thorn will be for where I'm studying, there's very little room for error. For example, in my experience, if I wake up late and didn't do the work for that morning, then that really pushes over to the next day, because you just have to be very on task with everything. And I've been pulling all-nighters, a couple all-nighters before the class to make sure that I get all the work done. In that, of course, these are the results of my incompetence, but I'm like constantly being punished for not being consistent. So that mentality that you always have to be on task and you can't really relax. That's a change for sure.
That's the end of the prepared and submitted questions. If anyone here has a question, and they can raise their hand and I'll unmute you or ask you to unmute. Also for the panel, if you have anything you wanted to add that I didn't ask you, or you think other students would like to know, go ahead. You got 5 minutes.
Hello.
Hi, Dean Reese.
Hi there. Yes. Thank you, Darren. Great program, everyone. And Darren took my question. And so one comment and then a quick question. Comment is actually to all of you, but focused on Mark too. Mark, I know you well. And if you're not studying 60 hours a week, we're going to have a little talk when you get back, young man. And so you need to strive for 61 hours. And for everyone else, you can try to do that, and we'll all compare notes when you return. My question is, name a striking question that someone has posed to you. Striking can mean interesting, intriguing, or even strange, but I'm just kind of wondering if anyone has experienced any striking questions. Thank you.
It's not quite a question, but so for a little background, we went on a glacier tour pretty early on in the semester, I guess, and they were talking about, so there's a glacier lagoon that's connected to the ocean, and they have it's sort of like a gate or like a temporary dam that they can raise and lower if there are big icebergs, so that the icebergs don't like hit the bridge that's crossing the connection between the lagoon and the ocean. And they say that when you raise the dam, the glacial lagoon will freeze, and then the calving on the glacier will slow down, so the glacier won't melt as much as it usually does. And I asked the glacier guide if this like actually works, like why they don't just keep it dammed all the time so that the glacier won't melt as much. And he just kind of looked at me and he said, like, yeah, that'll help this glacier temporarily, but it won't really change the problem that we're trying to fix with climate change. It'll only make it seem like this glacier isn't melting as fast as it should be because we're temporarily putting a Band-Aid on it. And I just thought that was pretty interesting. So, yeah.
It's been me asking all the dumb questions. You know, I don't know what half the stuff they say here means. Like they call the stove the hob. And when I first bought like all my pasta and food and stuff, it just kept saying directions for hob. I was like, it's like, what is this? Like I had to ask my flatmates, and they still laugh about that. So it's usually me asking the dumb questions.
Was there any interesting tidbits from experiencing the U.S. election from outside the U.S.? Did you get a lot of questions?
Yeah, pretty much every other person would go to me and say, "What do you think of the U.S. election?" Because they like know I'm American. So that was fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because you can listen to the Icelandic radio and it's all in Icelandic, and you'll just hear like the name Biden or the name Trump come up, and then you're like, oh, I know what they're talking about, and then it's just back to Icelandic. But yeah, pretty much everyone knows what's going on. And we did get a lot of questions about the election.
Great.
I have a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Diana.
Okay. So I know the three of you that are in the UK right now, like you're gonna stay there, right, for the whole year? Okay. So for the Iceland people, are you worried about coming back to campus or what it's gonna be like? Also, just because there's so many more people on campus now, like there's a chance you won't be living on campus itself, but like in the hotel. Not to scare you, but just to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I definitely know and trying to block out the fact that it's going to be definitely culture shock coming back, because we all have been living in our own little bubble, like little bliss bubble here in Iceland. Yeah, and coming back to Bates, I am nervous and worried about like where I'm living and like how to do online classes and stuff. Like I still have to apply for housing that came out many weeks ago, but I just know it's all gonna work out and it's gonna be a-okay in the end. I'm gonna get placed somewhere and it's just gonna happen. So yeah.
Yeah. I feel like we're also because we're in this like bubble, we're kind of like not thinking about it. We're just kind of, we'll deal with it when we have to kind of mindset. So I don't think we're like that worried, but like the way we live our daily lives is definitely going to have to change, and that's what we have to get used to, and that's what I'm a little bit worried about. But other than that, like we're quite out of the loop in terms of everything that's happening at Bates, so I feel like I don't know anything.
Yeah, it'll definitely be quite a shock coming back, but yeah, it's good that we've been having this experience.
Also love the sweaters.
They're adorable. I want one. Iceland crew, we will have a meeting and talk before, like right when you come back, but we can always talk before that as well, if like you need help figuring out what's what. Yeah. All right, so we're at 5:01, and I know those of you in Europe need to go to bed soon, or probably just stay up and do more work, is my guess. thank you to our panelists. We really appreciate this. Everyone here appreciates it, but those that will watch it later will also appreciate it. And for those attending, if you have questions, feel free to send an email to one of these students. I'm sure that they'll answer. And have a wonderful rest of your time abroad. I hope things get better if they need to, and not worse in any situation. And whenever you're ready to come home, Bates will be here, ready to welcome you back.